I'm Jay. Hey, welcome everybody. I'm J.R. Flatter. I'm the founder and the lead facilitator for the Flatter Leadership Academy. Honored to be here today with this distinguished panel talking about something that's we're all passionate about, and that is ICF accreditation. How do you navigate the paths to an ICF accreditation? So I'm very quickly going to go through this deck that is being made available to everyone, and we're going to put it up on the ICF Virginia Charter Chapter website so that people who weren't able to attend today can view it. And so as I go through it really quickly, just remember you're going to have this available to you after we're done as a resource. Let's jump right in. So we want to start with a little bit of mindfulness. We talk a lot about mindfulness in the modern organizations and in coaching. So we like to practice what we preach, all come together, prepare to learn and grow as coaches, as leaders, as people. So what I want us all to do for the next minute or 2 minutes, just turn off your cameras and turn off your sound and write about your identity as a coach. If you've read James Clear, he talks about if you want to be something, identify as that something. So how do we identify as coaches and bring that to our coaching sessions? We'll see you back here in a couple minutes. All right, welcome back. So I'll share really quickly. I've been coaching for quite a while. I'm a PCC level coach. I'm a coach assessor, an educator, a coach educator. So I identify really strongly as a coach, but at the same time, when I come into a coaching session, I have that hint of trepidation and anxiety. And, is this going to be the time that it doesn't work? But it always seems to turn out well. Who else? You want to jump in here and share your identity as a coach? Margo, Allie, Susie,
Jay, I'll
LouAnne.
jump in. I wrote
Yeah.
that I bring my whole self to coaching. I just got off a coaching call 5 minutes before this call, and my whole self means that sometimes I asked a really good question that made her eyes light up, and then at the end I made a really clumsy, just sort of like dun 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 move, and that's just me. That's my whole self.
Thank you. Who else?
Yeah, I try to show up with the word that comes to mind for me is curiosity, and I think I've always been highly curious as long as I can remember, and so I bring with me to every coaching session that just curiosity. Where are they, and what are they going to bring in today?
Cool. Thank you.
I'll
All
go.
right. Yeah, go
Oh,
ahead. No,
sorry.
go ahead. Yeah.
Energy is what everybody has always said that I bring. So I'm really conscious of when I show up, what kind of energy am I radiating? Because we're always radiating something. And like Susie said, authenticity, like let's just bring our whole selves and everything that we have to offer to our clients and put them first. And hopefully that comes through in the session.
No, thanks for that. Yeah, coaching is exhausting because of that energy and because listening is so hard and watching. So thanks for sharing.
And JR, we have one of the participants commented about promote undiscovered possibilities. Thank you.
Great. Thank you. So thank you all for being here. And we want to make this collaborative, as collaborative as we can. So don't hesitate to raise your hand, drop some thoughts in the chat. We'll all be on mute unless we're talking, just because things happen. Dogs barking, lawnmowers going by your window, or in my case, they're vacuuming right outside the door of the room that I'm in. So a little bit of admin. We want to know a couple things about each of you so that we could perhaps customize our content, customize the remarks that we give. What's one thing you don't want to leave the session without? As you think about your coaching journey and where you are in that coaching journey, what's one thing that you expected to learn here in this session? And drop that in the chat and we'll collect them. We can all see the chat and we'll weave them into our remarks. Secondly, we'd love to know where you're at in your journey. And drop that in the chat as well. I likely didn't capture all of the potential options. So if you have a different option, feel free to drop it in the chat. These are just meant to be thought-provoking. You're thinking about pursuing coaching? Are you already a coach and you're seeking an accreditation, or you're seeking a reaccreditation or a higher accreditation? Are you all but experience hours? You have the education and the mentoring, but you need more experience. Love to hear from you. So let's dive right into these next few slides, and the links for each of these to the International Coaching Federation website are in the bottom. The education requirements. So each level of accreditation has different education requirements. And there are two paths that you can take to get that education. The first path is through an ICF accredited program, which myself and a couple of the panel members are involved in organizations that have that ICF accreditation, or the portfolio path, which means you're gathering your education outside of an accredited program, but still it's valid for the ICF. It's just a different path. So the different level of hours, 100 for ACC, 125 for PCC, and 200 hours for MCC. And a few years ago, the ICF changed the live and asynchronous requirement to 50-50, which means you can get 50% of your hours through non-live education experiences. Again, where you get that from is relevant to the path that you're going to be on. And there's the link. Experience. So there's 5 elements of getting an accreditation. Education is first, experience is second, and they're sequential. They're not first and second in chronological order. Paid and pro bono. So you are seeking an accreditation, and the ICF would like you to be a professional in that accreditation. So they give us limits to how much paid and unpaid coaching. So there are the 3 levels right there, and they're different percentages. So it's 25% for ACC can be pro bono, and the other 75% must be paid. PCC 450 and 50, MCC 2250 and 250, for a total of 100, 500, and 2500 respectively for each level. Now, to count those hours, and they don't have to be complete hours, you can aggregate 30 minutes, 20 minutes. It all adds up. So capture whatever the coaching system actually is. They must be formal coaching relationships. So if asked, the person that you're coaching must be willing to say that they were coached by you in a formal coaching relationship. And they must be willing to share their contact information. If they won't or can't, I have some customers that can't share their names. They can't go in your logs because the ICF reserves the right to audit your logs if asked. They also give us a minimum number of clients for each level. 8 for ACC, 25 for PCC, and 35 for MCC. And then another criteria are within the past 18 months, how many hours must you have completed? For ACC, it's 25, PCC, it's 50, and there is no stated requirement for MCC within the last 18 months. You can count coaching at work as paid, but you cannot log your direct reports. The ICF considers a potential conflict of interest, and therefore they don't allow that. But you can count anybody who is not a direct report. Peer-to-peer is considered barter by the ICF. So you can coach another coach and even a student coach and count that as coaching barter and count those hours. We can't double dip, and so it's either education or it's experience. So if you're in a program that is very experiential and you're doing a lot of coaching in class, those hours that you're coaching in class are education hours and can't be counted as experience hours. LouAnne, could you watch the chat? Because I see a lot going on in the chat. If anything's relevant, just bring it in the room, please. So a third criteria is mentor coaching. To get an ICF accreditation, you must be mentored by a qualified mentor coach. And different levels can mentor for different accreditations. So if you're seeking an ACC, you could be mentored by an MCC, a PCC, or someone who's been renewed as an ACC. And PCC is the same. For MCC accreditation, you must be mentored by another MCC. These groups have to be 10 or fewer students and a minimum number of 10 hours of mentoring, with a minimum of 3 hours of one-on-one over 3 months, not 12 weeks, 3 months. So if you start on the 10th of the month, 3 months later, you could sit for your exam. You're past mentor coaching on 3 months and 1 day from that start date. And there is the link for mentor coaching if you wanted to dig deeper on that. So the fourth criteria is a performance evaluation. And the ICF gives coach educators a lot of leeway as to what their performance evaluation is. We submit them to the ICF, they review them, and they give us their approval. For an ACC or PCC, they can be embedded within mentor coaching or a recorded transcript to an accredited program. We embed ours in our mentor coaching. Other programs, they're a separate and distinct component. But as long as you receive a performance evaluation and you pass it successfully, you meet this requirement. To get an MCC, you have to submit recordings and transcripts to the International Coaching Federation. All right, a couple more slides and then I'll pass it over to LouAnne. So the coach exam, this is an ever-changing requirement. The ICF continues to learn and mature, and as they do, they update the exam. Currently, it's a proctored, and this is for ACC, MCC, and PCC are a little different. Computer-based proctored exam. So in order for the ICF to receive accreditation by international accrediting bodies, they had to have a third-party proctor to have the exam have its appropriate level of independence at a Pearson testing center, or you can do it online. If you have a center that's convenient to you, you can go there. Otherwise, you can do it online. It's in 2 sections with an optional 10-minute break. It's a total of 90 minutes. 60 multiple choice questions in 2 sections. And there's the link. PCC and MCC are just a bit different. They're longer, more questions, and a different format. You can do them at Pearson or remote, but they're 180 minutes with 78 situational judgment items, broken down as you see here. And there's the link. And with that, I'm going to review the chat while I pass it over to LouAnne, and she's going to introduce each of our speakers. LouAnne, the floor is yours.
Thank you so much, JR. And I saw a couple things pop into the chat. Yes, we will be happy to provide the links to all the participants at the end of this session. So we are happy to do that, as well as support anything else that you may need to navigate this journey successfully. JR and I are here for you as part of the board. So we are very thrilled to serve you in this way. So now that we've had a chance to review the key requirements for ICF, it's time to hear from those who are involved most recently in the process and really know it well. So I'm excited to introduce a panel of 3 experienced individuals who will walk us through the specifics of each required area. And through their time, they're going to offer some tips and insights and real world examples to bring the credentialing process to life for you. So first, I'd like to welcome Susie Fishleder. And Susie is a newly ACC accredited coach and works as a leadership coach for women who are tired of playing by the old rules. And that so lands with me. And she has a master's in women, gender, and social justice and was just trained as a coach through the Gestalt International Study Center. She's lived in 5 states and currently resides in Suffolk, Virginia with her 3 kids, husband, 2 dogs, and 6 chickens. I love that. Susie will be sharing her path to becoming an ACC coach and the first steps in launching a business. So welcome, Susie.
Thank you so much. I'm so happy to be here. So I'll share a little bit about my journey, and then we have time after everyone's presented for questions. So I definitely want to answer any questions that you guys have. But yeah, it was a year ago, almost exactly a year ago. May 7th was my first day of my training program. So a year to today, I am now an ACC credential coach. Where I started, I chose to pursue my training certification at a level 2 program through the Gestalt International Study Center. And a level 2 program, if you haven't gone through one yet, means that eventually I can apply for PCC without any additional accreditation. What was helpful about my program too is everything was included except for the exam and my own coaching hours. So the mentor coaching, performance assessment, the recorded sessions, all of that was built into my training. So I didn't have to do any extra work or pay extra money to, hire a mentor coach. That was all part of my training. So my first class was last May, and I started coaching in June, and it was terrifying. And I started coaching for free because I didn't know what to do, and then eventually started asking for money, which is also a journey. But I just put myself out there, and I started asking my personal network first, and then GISC, my training program, had partnerships, and they actually offered opportunities for us to coach people. So as a student coach, I was able to provide coaching through there, and that was a great way to get some hours. And I'm happy to talk about finding people and getting hours because I know that's a big part. You definitely want to keep a log. ICF provides a spreadsheet example of how they want you to keep your information. I just use the same thing. Yeah. So I finished my training in November and continued to coach. And by February, I had gotten enough hours. I was over 100 hours at that point, but I had to get the 75 paid hours. So I got 75 paid hours plus more to get the 100 hours by February. I went online and I filled out the application process, took the exam. I did it online. Happy to share about that experience in March. And within 5 minutes, they tell you if you passed. And the email I got was, congratulations, you are an ACC coach. And I was like, oh my gosh, who do I call? And I emailed LouAnne and JR. I was so excited to share and texted my husband, obviously. And it's very exciting. And then since March, so in the last 2 months, I formed an LLC. I've opened up a business account. It's just I'm starting to reach out to people. There's a lot of seed planting right now, it feels like. But I'm very excited to be here. I was excited to be asked to serve on this panel as the ACC representative. So that's the point of the journey that I can share about. And I think we'll just keep going and save questions for the end. Is that how we want to do this?
Yes, thank
Let's
you.
do it. Okay.
Yeah, sounds great. Thank you so much, Susie. Now I'd like to introduce Allie Krug. And Allie is a newly certified PCC and also a scientist, drawn to coaching 2 years ago when she was looking for ways to show up as a better mother and spouse. She's also grateful for the dramatic ripple effects this training has had on her life and the uniquely complex, intense, and sensitive neurodivergent clients she enjoys working with. When she isn't rabbit holing, and I love this, when she isn't rabbit holing about microbiome and how our 40 trillion gut friends come to our aid in so many ways, she can be found working with horses, running, hiking, splitting wood, and roping in ice hockey rink parking lots. Okay, we'll have to watch for that. As a U.S. Navy spouse, Allie and her family have lived in Hawaii, Washington, Connecticut, Japan, California, and now in Virginia Beach. So, Allie, we are so grateful you're going to be sharing more about the PCC journey, exam prep, and mindset, and suggestions on how to continue growing and then tracking all those CEUs. Welcome, Allie.
Well, it is a privilege to be here, and this panel is just a really distinguished panel. I'm actually quite nervous to be here, showing up in front of fellow coaches and offering little pearls of wisdom that I have, because I'm finding my way just like you all are. But I think that Susie led us off really well with the practical and the timeline and what she's done to get going and get out there and just be really intentional about making it happen. And I have to say, I did somewhat the same thing. I figured out that the best way to learn how to be a coach, in addition to taking all of the training, is to get out there and do it. And when you start doing it, your clients will tell you what you're doing well. So I'm a scientist. I love experimenting and I love evidence, right? Collecting evidence. And I just figured, well, I better get myself out there and start practicing what I've learned before it gets rusty, right? And then the clients will tell us, okay, here's what you're doing. You ask for feedback, and then you start understanding through client feedback what it is you're doing well. And as a coach, if you're a sensitive, observant human being, which you probably are, you'll figure out what you don't like about what you're doing. Something will feel awkward. It'll feel clunky. It'll feel like, gosh, was that just right? We tend to question ourselves so much anyway. Write those things down. That's a great opportunity to grab a mentor coach when things don't go quite right, and they will go off the rails in some way you don't expect. That's just a great learning opportunity. So my coaching journey was similar to Susie's. I opted for a level 2 program. I wanted it, in the box, something that was well prescribed. The Institute for Professional Excellence in Coaching has been around for more than 25 years, very process-based. That worked well for the little scientist mindset here. And it had everything in the box for me. So I liked that. I am a PCC level coach. It meant that I didn't have to go back through more training or more mentor hours, but I did anyway because things come up like I was describing. I wanted to understand what I could do better. And in particular, going deeper for me was a challenge. Sitting with discomfort was a challenge. So I asked my incredible mentor coach that I had in training if she would be willing to be hired outside of the program for me to just continue my education. I didn't need those mentor hours, but I think it's vital that we keep doing that. So my task here in front of you today is to try to distill briefly what I did to get myself from ACC to PCC. And to be honest with you, that's just continuing what Susie laid out there. It's more of that same work because we want to show up for our clients every day as the best possible coach that we can. So for me, it was number one, everyday practice. What am I doing to be an ethical coach every single day? So looking for ICF accredited coaching on ethics is a great way to start because it's impossible to really predict every situation in training. Things come up over time. And if you are looking for great ethics courses, then they will bring to you case scenarios that mean you don't have to go through it yourself to figure out what you shouldn't do. You can learn from other people. So look for ICF accredited courses in ethics, I think is a great way to keep going. Those really help you think about how you're structuring everything from your pricing, from your tiers, maybe from your program itself and your coaching agreement. I recently redid my coaching agreement in response to an ethics course. So I think it's just great to look for more continuing education and ethics in particular. So that's number one. Number two, I already touched on, and that's working with mentor coaches. Another way that you can work with a mentor coach is, for instance, if you have a thing that keeps coming up with your clients, like the inner critic, man, those messages just will not relent. Then there are some ICF accredited coaches. One I happen to know from my program, Paul Bonke, who wrote Thoughts on Demand. It's a book you can get on Audible. So he can be hired as a mentor coach. And interestingly enough, if your clients are okay with recording sessions, you can send him a recorded session. He will look at it, review it, and then go over it with you in a structured debrief. So that's another way to do mentor coaching. It can be asynchronous, or you can coach a phenomenal coach. Chiara Russo is my mentor coach. She may not appreciate that I gave her this shout out, so she will get a deluge, but she is fantastic at being like, somehow she splits herself in two. She's able to track what I'm doing as a coach and make notes, as well as going into the deep work that I needed practice on. So she's able to create that dual experience for me and then debrief it. She's phenomenal. So a good mentor coach, excuse me, man. And then finally, so this is number three, I use AI as a feedback partner. So some of my clients really want recorded sessions. And for those who do, this is a phenomenal way. If you track the transcript as well, embedded into my transcript, I happen to use Google Meet, and then the AI that's built into Google Meet is just sitting right there on the side. And I'm like, oh, there it is sitting there. I wonder what it can do for me. So one day I said, hey, go check out the PCC, because that's what I'm going for next. Go check out the PCC standards and tell me how I did. Give me 3 things I did well and 3 things I didn't do as well, so that I can grow as a coach. So look at the transcript and tell me. And sure enough, it did. But you know what? I don't just wait for the AI to tell me. I force myself to write down, just like I would if I were with a mentor coach. I self-reflect and decide, okay, what it is that I think I should be working on. And then I look at the AI, and what's really funny is the AI said the same thing. Hey, Allie, you know what? More direct questions, because I tend to be pretty verbose. More direct, Allie. And space, silence, the thing that we always work on, right? So it's not bad. And I think that there's potential there to use that as a way to continue honing our skills, even when we don't have a mentor coach, because the big thing is visualization and training those neural pathways for us as coaches. We have to practice. Now, finally, I promise to offer, how do you track all those CEUs as you are preparing? Because you do need to keep track of what you've done. I keep a folder, and I track the CEUs by year, and then in the little file name, I actually put how many it's worth, like if it's 1 or 1.5. So I put that in there. So I know which year I took it because it's in the folder for the year. And then I can go into ChatGPT. I can grab the entire folder, put it into ChatGPT and say, hey, organize for me based on this into columns, into a nice table, what my CEUs were by type and by title. So I hope that's helpful. It's just a really nice way to make it more efficient.
Yeah, wow, Allie. Thank you. That was very helpful. Great tips in there. So our last panelist is Margo Boster, and Margo is an executive and leadership coach at the MCC level. She's also an ICF assessor and mentor coach with over 15 years of coaching experience. She began her coaching career in Northern Virginia and relocated to Arizona. We're not sure why. That's way too far from Virginia, but I there were good reasons. And oh yes, her reason is a really good one. After having sister who lived in Northern Virginia. She relocated to escape the traffic. So she returns to this area to frequently to serving her clients and visiting her daughter, son-in-law, and two delightful grandsons who live in Falls Church. Margo completed her coach training at Georgetown University, where she now serves as adjunct faculty. She's also a mentor coach with Flatter Leadership Academy and works with senior executives and teams. Before coaching, Margo spent 25 years in IT and health IT leadership. She's the author of a book that you'll see behind her, Mindfully Successful, which weaves together insights from psychology, anatomy, philosophy, neuropsychology, and adult development to elevate leadership. Margo will be sharing more about the MCC journey as well as the value, like pros and cons of an ICF credential, performance evaluations, and mentor coaching. Welcome, Margo.
Well, thank you, LouAnne, and thank you to both you and JR for inviting me. And I'm not so much going to talk about the path to MCC because it sounds like from most of you, you're still thinking about where do I go to school? What training should I get? How do I get the ACC or the PCC credential? So I'm going to focus on the pros and cons of the ICF. I'll start with that. And then I'm going to talk about how you're going to be evaluated for that performance evaluation, because no matter which level you're going for, you're going to be evaluated. And then I will talk a bit more about mentor coaching. So the pros and cons of the ICF. The pros from my perspective are it establishes standards around coaching. Coaching is an unregulated industry. So anybody can and often does go out and say, I'm a coach. Well, no, you were a supervisor or you were a trainer or you were a mentor. But coaching, as we know, or for those of you starting into the journey, know it's really different. And so ICF set standards. And one of the ones that Allison mentioned that is very critical is the ethics. And they do review and revise the ethics on a regular basis. And I know as part of JR's training programs and the others that I'm involved with, really understanding those ethics are so important. The other thing is that with ICF, they do provide a lot of resources for training, for getting together like this. And one thing that I've heard about, people think about, what do I need to do to get training, to get to that credential? You have to continue having ongoing credentials or training to renew your credentials. And one thing that ICF does is there's a lot of resources available that you can use that are no cost, and a lot of them are online. They don't, I still love the power of the integrated learning, but those are two of the big pros: the standards and ethics and the resources available to you. The downside of ICF that I hear is, man, they're just constantly wanting money. I have to pay for membership. I have to pay for my, submitting my renewal. It is true, because it's not a free, all volunteer organization. My opinion is it's worth the money, but that's something for everybody to decide. And the other complaint that I think I know JR and I lament it from time to time, you know what? It's run by humans. And because it's run by humans, we are not going to agree with everything they do. So those are the two cons. It costs you money and it's imperfect. So I highly recommend that you join the ICF. The next thing is I'm running out of time, performance evaluations. We can talk more about that, but a couple of things that I see is not establishing and maintaining the agreement, not 3 and 8, not acting in the role as a coach, trying to come back and do your normal day job, training, problem solving, and so forth. That's the biggest one that we see. And when you submit this recording, or when it's assessed, you're always going to receive 2 to 3 areas that you did well, and 1 to 3 areas that need improvement. Now, back in the early days, when I first got that, I was like, well, I passed and I did this. Why are they telling me because we all need improvement. When I passed my MCC eval, and for MCC, you have to submit 2 recordings. Okay. So I got that. But then when I became an evaluator, I realized you have to give this feedback. So when you get it, listen to the feedback. Don't take it as criticism. It is really positive, or it's helpful feedback. And we give it in a way to help you develop. The third area I'll talk about is the mentor coaching, which I love that Allison's really plugging it. I am a mentor coach through, if you go on ICF, if you're looking for a mentor coach, you can go on the website and it'll see who are the mentor coaches. I'm also one, like I said, with JR. I am also for Georgetown. And it's very helpful because the hard part from a mentor coach's perspective when we first start is you want to be nice. Oh, you're doing so well. Well, that's not going to help you grow. And it's not going to help you pass that exam. And so just like being a good coach, a good mentor coach is going to give you specific feedback, work with you on, did you notice when you said this? And when I do my mentor coaching, I'm also working towards competencies, because the competencies are there not just to give us something to check the box. They're really there to help guide us in what we're doing as a coach. So it is required for getting and maintaining the credentialing. And usually, like JR said, the programs that you go to, it's embedded in that. But you also can go and find a mentor coach on your own, and you can reach out to somebody. Allison suggested, I know I offer mentor coaching aside. I don't know, JR, I know you do a lot with your program, and it's just a really helpful way to continue your growth. So that's my scripted conversation for you. I think we now have time for questions.
We do.
So back to you, LouAnne or JR.
Yeah, thank you so much, Margo. Wow. I am so impressed with our panelists. I'm going to high five JR on our selections today. They did a fantastic job. So we do want to open it up to see what questions you might have, maybe explore something more deeply that we didn't that we kind of just flew by, did the fire hose approach. What's coming up for you? You can either put it in chat or you can come on camera, whatever your comfort level is.
So Nadia is talking about how to get started. Susie, you want to jump in? Tell her how to get started.
How to get started. Nadia, did you have a specific question? I'm trying to go back to look through the chat. Getting started.
I'm looking at it.
Yeah.
More about coaching programs for credentialing prep groups.
Hey, Nadia.
There she is.
Hi. Good morning. Thank you. Can you guys hear me?
Yep.
Yeah.
Perfect. So I just wanted to ask about the process to start, because I actually went on the Flatter website and I looked around, and there are hundreds of options, and they offer life coaching, they offer, leadership, all of that. And so what kind of helped to guide you into your niche? Like, is it that you decided, okay, I struggled through something and now I want to help others who are struggling through the same thing, so I'm going to get coaching that's specific to that thing? Or did you just pick whatever was most convenient for you? I'm just kind of trying to figure out how you navigated that whole process of picking the one that you thought would be best for you, since there's so many different options.
So nailing your niche.
Yes, basically.
I know you're looking at the ACC, and I want to give Susie time to answer to expand. But I think back to when I decided to go into coach training or to coaching. I think it's stepping back and realizing what is important to you. And there's a lot of opportunities, but what's important to you? Do you need one that's online? Do you prefer one that's in person? Uh, as you're looking, if you're clear on what's important to you, then as you're looking through them, you can almost do a checkbox and say, no, that one's just too in the head. I'm a yoga teacher. I want to do the Gestalt program, you know. So before you really dive into all of them, step back and say, what matters to me? And then when you get your criteria of what's important, as you're looking at these, and there are endless, endless, endless opportunities, then you can start narrowing it down. Another thing is I suggested, one of the things that I did was I asked other people, what do you think? I've narrowed it down to these three options. Just give me your perspective. And since you're part of the ICF chapter there in Virginia, you have a lot of resources around who I am certain would be happy to say to you, oh, yes, I've heard really great things about them. Or, I know a couple of people who went to that. So identify what you want and ask questions.
Thank you so much, Margo. Indira, did you have a question?
Me.
Hey, Andrew, how you doing?
Grace, doing well, doing well. I am a graduate from the Flatter program. I'm a proud graduate. I think I learned everything I needed to know to begin my journey there. So thank you very much, JR. And again, thank you to all the panelists for what you've offered so far. I think it's an amazing journey. I have a very practical question because there's a little bit of a confusion about knowing that the ICF is very dynamic as they do their testing. I got the information that after March of 2025, they changed the ACC exam from that best scenario, worst scenario type of answer. Does anyone on the panel know exactly what I'm facing? Because I'm taking the test on Monday. Over.
Yeah, I'm going to turn you over to Susie. She just finished.
First of all, congratulations. You are going to do great. Monday's going to come and it's going to be amazing. There's the basics. Get a good night's sleep, have a glass of water. Are you doing it online or in a center?
I'm going to the center.
Okay. I don't know about that experience. I did it online, but for the exam itself, here's what you want to study. The ethics, the code of ethics, and you want to print it out and you want to read it word for word. Core competencies, print it out, read it word for word. I made flashcards. Now, I only gave myself 3 days to study because I was like, I could overthink this to death. So
Yes.
do whatever you can get in this weekend would be great. Ethics, core competencies. There is, and if you pop me an email, I'll put my email in the chat, some resources. There's a flow chart somewhere of what to do if there's been an ethics breach. There were a couple of questions that came up in the test about ethics breaches. Like if another coach breached ethics, what do you do? When to refer clients to a mental health professional. Those types of questions came up a lot. Now, it's not best worst. It's not the way the other exam is. You're going to get a question. It's going to be multiple choice, and you just pick the right answer. There are some answers that felt a little bit like, what? I don't know. Like some questions are going to be really obvious, like obviously this is the right one. Some of them feel a little sticky. Out of my graduating cohort, I think 5 of us have taken the test and all 5 of us have passed. You only need to, one girl passed with like 2 points to spare, but she passed, so it doesn't matter. So, and comparing answers afterward, there were several questions that even though we'd done the same amount of education, we each got different answers to the questions. So there will be some questions that you feel like, I just don't know. Does that help give you some, let me put my email in the chat.
Absolutely. It does help because there's a bit of confusion, I think, in the ICF website because when you click on the ACC test and there's like a practice area, it's best and worst case scenario instead of being the other one. So when I saw in other chats and other links that people were saying that the test was different, I was like, okay, I want to be kind of prepared for that scenario because I had been practicing the best and worst scenario in some other practice areas that I found.
Yep, you don't have to
So
do that.
thank you.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Great. Thank you very much. Have a good day.
Yeah, thank you, Indira. Great questions, everybody, so far. How about Anne Marie?
Hi, everybody. Thank you for taking my question. So, as I'm thinking about finding clients and marketing, et cetera, one of the questions that I have is, how do you find people are paying for their sessions? Are they generally reaching into their own pockets and paying for sessions? Or is there typically a resource available to them, like in the workplace? I guess what I'm wondering is if there's like how I can guide people to find potential resources other than their own pocket.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm going to open that up. Who would like to take that?
Anne Marie, I have a question for you. What type of coaching are you focusing on? Is it life coaching, career coaching, leadership coaching, business coaching, or what is your niche that you're going to be focusing on?
I am focusing on leadership for women, but I just finished my PhD and my dissertation was on women returning to work after a lengthy time out. And one of the things that I want to do is help people who are returning to the workplace. So in those cases, obviously they don't have a corporation behind them. Now, I've done a lot of executive coaching and I want to start focusing that more on women executives. And that's where I'm not sure, like I was an internal coach in my organization before. So that's where I'm not sure as I'm seeking clients, where the payment is coming from.
I'm going to give you a real quick answer, and then I'm going to let Susie and Allison answer here too. The self-pay is obviously going to be a lower rate. And with that, I will still say don't undercharge. That's the biggest mistake I made when I first started is undercharging. It's not fair to you, the client, or the profession. So, but self-pay will be less. I don't usually do self-pay. I've worked with, since I'm working with people in organizations, the organizations pay for it. And then you do have more of in private sector, it's more than in government, but you still have a higher rate if it's a big sponsor pay. So Susie or Allison?
I've not yet worked. I have similar clientele. I'm a leadership coach for women, and most of my clients now are either in career transitions or they've left their careers. All of mine are self-pay. I'm dramatically undercharging still, so I'm not even going to share what that is because I'm still a new coach and a lot of them are still holdovers. So they're paying out of pocket. I think standard rate at this level that I feel comfortable that I should be charging is probably about $150 an hour. That's going to vary, so don't quote me on that. But they're paying, and I get paid on like through Venmo. I have a credit card processing thing through my website that people have paid through. But yes, the sponsor client relationship and getting corporate people to pay, you can charge. My understanding is you can charge more.
And do you contract?
As of right now, I'm just doing hour by hour because I think, well, I know the goals they're working on, and we sort of have set in the beginning, like, would you like to do 8 sessions at this amount of money? And then at the end of 8 sessions, we can kind of see where we're going. But I don't make them sign a formal contract that's, I mean, that's not fair. I do have a contract that they sign that says, like, you have to show up and pay me. But if they get what they needed out of 6 sessions, then that's great. Then they've got what they needed. So far, they've actually, all of them have continued past the initial engagement.
Go ahead, Allison. Sorry.
I have a slightly different clientele. So for anyone else who's listening, who might be curious about it, I work all self-pay. I do not work in corporate. I have, but I don't currently. And when I was going through training, it was a value to me that I be able to offer coaching to anybody who needed it, regardless of ability to pay. So I kind of in my mind picked 30% pro bono is what I would carry in my practice. And I'm a faith-driven practitioner, so I just figured, God would send me who should be coming to me. And if they couldn't pay, they couldn't pay. And they would just slide into those slots as appropriate. And as far as charging, I have two businesses. So I'm a scientist, a practicing scientist. And so I was looking at opportunity cost, like what does it cost for me to give up this hour of time? And I kind of set my rate around there, just like my baseline rate. And then you can also look at ICF. They do salary reviews essentially for coaches every year. So you can kind of look at what the, corporate coaching rate is, what the private pay coaching rate is, and kind of look at the average so that you at least know kind of what the average is out there. And it gives you a little bit of understanding. And then if you want to do a sliding fee scale, which is really appropriate, I think probably more appropriate even because pro bono is great. It sounds great, but honestly, people value what they pay for, even if it's a low amount. So a question that I found really interesting to pose, and I'll just close with this, is what amount would it take for you to pay me to really get your attention? Like, what is the attention getting amount for you? And that would encourage the client to really invest in themselves, because really that's what this is all about, is putting the client first. It's not necessarily about what I should earn. It's about what will work for them. That may be different for a corporate client than it would be for a private pay client. So I'm not sure if that muddies the waters or offers helpful options as starting points.
Those were all very helpful. Thank you.
Can I add one more thing, please, just about this pricing thing? I am other than JR, we're both the old souls here, right? And I will say this is my second business that I've had. My first one was a pure consulting business. Then the second one was more consulting and coaching, and now coaching. A couple of things is, don't undervalue yourself. And it is really hard at the beginning. Oh my gosh, I'm asking them to pay that much. Don't undervalue yourself. And like Allison said, people will value more what they pay for. Also, though, in a coaching environment, I discourage hourly charges. In the government, we have to do it by the hour. In everything else, I do it by packages. Because if anybody's ever had therapy, they know that, the first time feels good, and the second time's okay, and the third time's like, oh, it's starting to hurt. I'm not going to go. And so get them to commit to a time. It may be 3 months. I used to do a 6-month engagement that they would only pay half up front and half midway. But you really need to get them to commit to it. And like JR said and constantly says, you're selling the relationship. Don't sell hours. Coaching is not consulting. It's not problem solving. Yeah. So please don't undercharge, and know your worth, and consider you'll set an hourly rate in your mind. That's not what you're going to tell them.
Yeah, awesome. Thank you, Margo. I think we have one more question if we can answer. I'm going to toss it to Allie before we close out. And it's about PCC assessments. So we know that that's been sort of consistent in what they've put out there, but if you can talk about how to prep for that, I'm sure it would be helpful.
This might be a good question for Margo or for you or JR, actually, LouAnne. I did just go through the PCC, and I did approach it the way I described, which is, go and take it, be in a growth mindset. If for some reason you don't pass it, they for sure will take your money again and let you try again. I don't mean that to be snide, but like that's just how it works. So there will be another opportunity to go for this thing again. The PCC was a doozy. I will say that it is a 3-hour exam. I did take it at home. I know Susie was going to touch on the prep. Do not show up late for your check-in. Leave the full 30 minutes. I'm so glad Susie brought that up in our pre-panel. So that definitely is true for the PCC. And I will say that the best and worst options were interesting. If you tend to be a question overthinker like I am, and can justify just about any answer, then try to avoid doing that to yourself and just go with what seems to make sense. And then you can flag the answers. You can go back. I flagged like maybe 4 or 5. I saved them knowing that I could go back, look through them, and just was like, you know what? I'm doing the best that I can. I know that I've done all the prep that I can to be the best possible coach I can every day. And if for some reason a question is, inscrutable to me and I need to come back again in another test, it's okay. It's going to be a learning experience for me. Why did that question throw me off? So I think that it is something you should take seriously. If you do pass it, it's something you should be very proud of because it is a difficult exam to pass, and it means that you really have instinctively within you, in your wiring, good coaching practice.
Yeah, I'll jump in for a second. I think the best, and this hopefully doesn't sound cliche, but the best exam prep you can take is to have your coaching be alive for you. If you truly understand the competencies and the markers within the competencies and the ethics, and they're alive for you, and you can demonstrate them in your coaching, and you regularly do demonstrate them in your coaching, they're going to be alive for you in the exam. Yeah, do some prep, as the panelists have recommended, but also look at those, and as you look at the PCC markers, which I love markers because they tell me how to demonstrate that competency. And each of the competencies has different numbers of markers, and they should all be alive for you, that you could demonstrate them.
Yeah. Marty, I want to go back to your question. You asked it about PCC assessment. Are you referring to the actual exam or the submit, or you're prepping your coaching session that you're submit for assessment? Both. Okay. All right. Awesome. All right. So
I
Mark,
can,
touch on
yeah.
that. Great.
Yeah, so for the assessment, I mean, I do value assessments for both, for all the different levels. And here's the distinction whenever I'm assessing at the ACC level versus the PCC level. First off, PCC does not mean perfect coaching. So perfection is not required. The distinction really is we're still looking at the same markers. We're still looking at the number of times that we need to see it. So like 3 and 8, you have to demonstrate each of those markers at least once. Others, you have to demonstrate them more than once. But the difference is for an ACC, have you demonstrated to me that you understand you're supposed to address this? Okay. The PCC is more of, are you showing that you are able to address it? And a distinction in that is I was doing an assessment the other day, which was at the PCC level, and they did not pass. Because when you're talking about the who and the what, when he got down to competency 8, he said, well, we've been talking about your team and how they are, and that is the who. So he demonstrated that he knew he was supposed to address the who. If he had been going for the ACC, would we have passed him? He was going for the PCC. He totally missed who the who was. So that's really the distinction between the ACC. Do you demonstrate that you understand that you're supposed to address it? PCC, do you demonstrate that you are able to address it, that you do address it?
Yeah, beautiful. Thank you so much for that clarity, Margo, and for the question, Marty. We really appreciate it. Well, it has been fantastic today being with you. We are so grateful for all that you do and are just thrilled for the future of this world that you have chosen to be a coach. JR and I are here for you. Please reach out to us if you have any other questions. JR, you want to close us out with anything else?
No, thanks, LouAnne. Yeah, it's been an honor to be here, and you all are part of our cohort now. So don't be strangers. You have all of our contact information. We're going to download the chat, make it available. We're going to download the transcript, make it available, and the recording and the deck. So we're here to help. So what LouAnne and I do is help navigate the ICF accreditation. And have a great day, everybody.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you.
Good to see you guys.